Today's subject is 7 thought leadership strategies to unleash your business on stages. So when you're actually speaking on stage and you're wondering, right, I've spoken now, what do I do next? Well, there's things you need to do next, there's things you should have done before, and things you need to do during. That's what we're going to be covering in today's session. So I'm not sure who's going to be joining us, but whoever joins us is very welcome to join the experience, and so are you. This is being recorded live and will be shared later for anybody who missed it to catch up. My mission is help you to jump and grow wings on the way down. This is Speak on Stage. So now as I unmute myself, if I can unmute myself, there we go, and go live effectively to LinkedIn. I have no idea who's going to come out to play. I do know that of our normal team, which would include Debbie Gray, who's in the UK, and my wife Aziza, who's fasting, so may or may not join us, just depending, because I know she's up early with my daughter. And Jeff, who may or may not be joining us. We're going to leave it wide open for anybody who is coming out to play. Aziza's joined me. Amazing. She is there. How are you, Aziza? We're just setting up stuff. Are we okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. That's nice to know as well. We're going to be talking about 7 thought leadership strategies to unleash your business on stages. And today's session, it covers everybody who wants to go on stage. It covers everybody who isn't yet on stage, and it covers everybody who helps others to go on stage. Now, when we start talking about the different subjects and things like this, I want to explain a couple of things. First of all, that whenever I go and host conferences, and I'm doing this all over the world, you may have already got the fact I was in Leap, which was in Saudi, literally about 2 weeks ago. I was hosting a stage that looked after health tech and also education tech. And what we tend to get is we get a load of really smart people who are from university or doctors or surgeons or people who've written theses about stuff, or they run a business around stuff, and they're very, very knowledgeable. But that doesn't mean that they're very good communicators, and that is a big problem, because you can go on stage and talk about the stuff that you do very well, but it doesn't really matter how good you are at doing it unless you're talking to people who are exactly like you, who are really into the numbers and the figures and the scientific strategy of whatever it is that you came by. Then most audiences are kind of dumbfounded, and even though they might sit there with a smile on their face, which is something that they're taught to do from school, doesn't mean that they're really into it. It just means that they're not faking the fact that that they're ready to walk away or read a book or go on their phone or just go to sleep. They smile because, that's what they do. They're taught at school to do that. The people on stage are often sharing stuff that's fascinating, but that doesn't mean necessarily that people are going to turn around and say, that's brilliant, I really want to work with you. And that is where the challenge is. Now, before I do anything, it's nice to see Neil Singh in the audience. We haven't started officially yet. We start in about 40 seconds, not minutes. That'd be terrible. So I just want to, first of all, share the fact that I am broadcasting now, to let everybody know that they can come and join us. And if Neil, you'd like to do that, and Aziz, you'd like to do that as well, that'd be amazing for us to have that being shared with as many people as possible. And Jeff Price has just joined us on the stage as well. We have radio royalty in the room, which is always a pleasure. We'll be talking to Jeff in a second as well. And if you've got a thing that you want to share, an idea or a concept that you want to be part of, then there's a number of different places you can go. In fact, if I can ask Aziza to share the links, if I haven't already put them in to the platform, I think I have them in the details, but they don't illuminate and become hyperlinks unless you actually add them to the comments. So if you can shop them in one by one, that allows everybody to know exactly what they're meant to be doing and how they can connect with us and work with us in the future. So I was talking about the importance of understanding really what it's all about when you join a stage and start speaking on stage, not unlike the one that we're having here. Because even though this is just a get-together, which we do on a weekly basis, maybe on a Sunday, maybe on a Friday, depending on whether I'm traveling or not, it's really an opportunity to be able to share who you are, what you are, and get some ideas. And your ideas are amplified because you're talking to people who are usually very smart, in my case smarter than me, who are sharing lots of concepts and ideas, and they're able to brainstorm things that you might go up against all the time. It's like a fish looking for water. And an older and wiser fish turns around and says, well, you're looking for water, you're in it. And the fish goes, no, I can't be. That's too obvious. It must be something else. Well, no, sometimes it's not obvious, but you need somebody who's a mentor or a coach or has been there before who's able to turn around and help you to be able to find that and find where you need to be. Hello to Tom and hello to Alison as well for joining us in the group. If by any chance you want to ask a question or make a comment, there's a couple of different ways of doing it. First of all, you can put your hand up virtually, which allows you then to be invited up on stage, and then you're able to speak when you turn your mic on if you have access to your mic. Sometimes people listen and are not able to jump on because they've got people around them. I can understand that as well. Or if you just want to put it into the comment section, then that's fine as well. From a comment section, we can see where you are, and from there I can see what your questions are, and we'll be able to move that forward from there. Hope that makes sense. So let's first of all start by going to Jeff. How are you today, Jeff? Jeff's very quiet. He's on mute at the moment, so I'll just assume that he's here to join in a little later, and he'll join us when he's ready. But having him there as well is pretty good. I'm going to be talking about the things that make it really important for all of us to be able to be effective when it comes to having going on stage. Oh, Jeff, you are there. Fantastic. How are you, sir?
Hello, Dave. It would help if I pressed the join button.
Yeah, I was going to say something. Seeing as you've run radio stations for many years, I would have thought you'd have worked that out on your own. But sometimes there's a red button that we never can work out going live. So there
That's right. Expect the unexpected. One of the biggest lessons we learn in the trade. Not only in the radio,
backed by every radio station we've ever worked with, that kind of thing.
That's right.
So how are you, sir?
I was watching the. I'm all right, thanks, Dave. I'm counting down to some more time in the hospital, which is a challenge. But yeah, I just can't wait for it to actually happen now and just move on to the next steps. I'm talking to you with rain lashing down outside. I don't know how it is where you are right now. How's the weather there?
Yes, you do. You know exactly how it is in Dubai. It's gorgeous.
Of course I do.
It's a lovely sunny day. This week I've forced myself to get some exercise, and I'm not going to join a gym because I know that if I do, I'll lapse after a while, or can't be bothered after a while, or I'll just want to. So what I've decided to do is the lowest common denominator of exercise, which is walking. So I'm walking around my housing estate for an hour every day. And to make sure that I don't get caught in the sun, which is, I know it sounds like I'm bragging, I found a little bit where I can just do laps up and down this housing estate where it's constantly in shade. And as the temperature rises, I'll always be in shade. But I'm just worried that somebody's going to call the police and say, there's a strange man who keeps walking outside my house about 4 times every morning. Could you keep an eye on him? And when it happens, I'll have to deal with it. So you know what the weather's like out here. It's generally always lovely, and today's no exception.
Big time. Dave, I was watching the rugby yesterday and brought back a lot of memories of our time together working in that kind of environment. And when you have done that job,
explain the job first of all, Jeff, because when you say you and I know what we're talking about, for anybody who's just joined us, anybody who listens or watches a podcast later, they'll have no idea what we're talking about by anybody who does that kind of job. I mean, running about in a rugby shirt is not what we did.
No. So Dave, Aziza, myself, and a few others were an MC team, an entertainment team for Rugby Sevens. An international tournament that visits Dubai once a year. It's part of a world tour, and we worked on that together I'd been involved with that for about 18 years and Dave well over 20. And together as this team, we have an itemized minute by minute rundown of exactly what's going to happen at what time. And it's our role to make sure that happens, and that the 50,000 people in the stadium are entertained and getting their money's worth, whilst also keeping the teams motivated as well and getting plenty of support for all of the international teams, countries from around the world, the All Blacks from New Zealand, Australia, Fiji, Samoa, England, Kenya, the list goes on. So does that describe it enough, Dave?
It does. Let me just add another bit to it. So what Jeff and I were doing, and Aziza was doing PR and camera work of the stuff, is we ran the team that was basically running the event for the audience that was based in the stadium. Now, most people going to Rugby Sevens have no idea what Rugby Sevens is. It's basically a small version of the 15-a-side sevens done at a faster pace for a shorter amount of time. Now, most people go along to it. They know it's an exciting sport to watch, but they don't really care. They're going because everybody else is there, and it's a lot of fun. So our job is to make sure that not only was it a lot of fun, but for those who wanted to get more out of the actual sporting event, we had a commentator or a team of commentators who would be able to tell people what was actually going on. For those who wanted just to sing along songs and enjoy the party, then Jeff would be playing the music. And for those who wanted to have games in the audience and do Mexican waves and all the rest of it, that was my role. I would go out into the middle of the pitch and get the activities moving. I made a few other elements like cheerleaders and so on. And so when we're talking about adding the entertainment in between the games, you'd have about 2 minutes at the end of a game and about a minute in the middle of a game at half time to entertain the audience. And so if your team's losing, then you're pretty down. But we would make sure that everyone's lifted up to have a lot of fun. So whether your team wins or loses, you had a really good time of the whole experience. And our job is to make sure that over the 3 days, leading from the very beginning of the tournament on the main pitch, all the way until the last kick of the game, with the finals, people were at fever pitch. And we did that for about 20 years. And here's one of the things, and I'll just blow a little bit of our own trumpet about it. Over time that we worked there, we're a very small team of maybe about 8-9 people, because we looked after some other pitches as well. We looked after this, and all the time that we were doing it, everybody wanted that job, the job we were doing, because it was glamorous and radio stations pitched for it, said we'll do it for free just so we could get it. But the thing was, there's a lot more to a role than most people would think. We had a really symbiotic relationship where we would overlap on each other's jobs, but we wouldn't have egos trying to score points when somebody made a mistake. If anybody went even to the bathroom or they got something wrong, we would just pick up where they were and continue. And it was literally like being a team. And I think that's what made the magic, and that's what kept us together for such a long time, as well as doing other sporting events and other rock concert events and stuff as well, Jeff. But that kind of adds the extra bit, doesn't it?
Well, to blow a little more of the trumpet, during our time together in that team, the event was voted number 1 in the world for its entertainment value, particularly by the teams who really enjoyed the atmosphere, but also by the public who came to really just have a good time. Not only that, we were visited by the Olympic Committee, we were visited by the Commonwealth Games, and we had members of those organisations standing in our vicinity watching our every move and taking notes.
True.
And in 2016, Rugby Sevens became an Olympic sport. And I remember being in Dubai, sitting in the car, listening to the BBC World Service at the time, waiting for the announcement of which sports were to be appointed Olympic status. And Rugby Sevens was the first to get the gold, if you like. And the officials, the Olympic Committee, and people who were being interviewed on the BBC all referred to Dubai, the success of the event that we'd been running and helping to run together. So that's pretty cool stuff.
I did not know that. This is the first time I've heard that conversation with you, Jeff. First time ever. Seriously. I had no idea that was it.
Seriously?
Yeah, seriously.
Well, there you are.
That's fantastic.
I remember I was just passing Mirdif City Centre on the Emirates, what was then Emirates Road, which is now Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Road, I think. And that's the exact moment that the announcement was made on the BBC World Service.
Wow.
And it was just an amazing feeling. And to hear those words, it was down to the success of the event in Dubai, and specifically the Olympic Committee were looking for an event, a sporting event, that would be something that families could really enjoy. And funnily enough, its family value was something that was really important to them. Now we've seen some of the stuff that goes on in the stands of this international sporting event. It's a very grown-up event, but at the same time, it really embraces family and kids, and during the event, even gives the kids some time on the number one pitch, where everybody can support them and encourage them, and then knowing that they are the future of the game of rugby. So it's really quite something.
Yeah, it really is, Jeff. And I know that different teams running it now and doing their own thing, and I wish them all the very best of luck. And our experience of it was fantastic at the time, and our experience of it is now that as we move on and do the things that we do, it's important to see where we are now and what we can do to make that most effective. And today's session is deliberately all about what happens when you do the speaking thing and the impact it has around. I think Rugby Sevens is a great illustration of what happens when you've got an audience that come along to experience something special. And if you don't look at, if you just give them what they want or what you think they want, it's never enough. So I'm going to go through very quickly the 7 secret strategies that every speaker should have in place to drive their business from the stage. I'll go over that, and it's good to see people in the audience. It's good to see Christian Farioli as well. Sorry, Professor Christopher Farioli. Jules Dalton, I've not talked to for a little while as well. Hope we may bring onto the stage if his internet is good enough. If not, we'll kick you off again. Hope you know we love you. We know it's not personal, but it's just what we do if the noise isn't right. So I'm going to share with you the 7 things, and feel free to make notes. You don't necessarily have to, because this is being recorded, and it will be on YouTube later on for you to take notes and then enjoy to your heart's content. So when you go on stage, you must make sure, first of all, that you know how to make effective communication. Effective communication means that really you need to be able to turn around to your audience and they have to understand everything that you're saying, not just keeping it into your mind, hoping that everybody's thinking the same way as you. They won't. They will only take you at face value, and if they don't get it enough times, then they'll drop out. Even if they're sitting there and watching you, their brains will go on holiday somewhere else. Then you've got to have a signature message when you're talking on stage and you're sharing something with people. It's not just enough to be able to share what it is that you're talking about. They need to be able to identify who you are and what you bring to the table. So often when you're talking about a signature message, like for instance, for anybody who knows that what I talk about is how to jump and grow wings on the way down. Now I also talk about, of course, speak on stage and communication and branding. Well, it's quite clear that that's what my signature message is, that anyone can jump and grow wings on the way down to create their brand and speak on stages. So you know who I am and what I do. Now, I'm not saying everybody needs to do what I do. They need to do what they do, but they need a very clear signature message of what that is so people can understand that and then want to collaborate or work with you or follow you because they know what it is you bring to the table. If you keep it very blur or very bland or very unobvious, then people will say thank you very much, and if they're still hungry to buy something, they'll buy from somebody else and you'll miss out on that. Number 3 on that is your omnichannel presence. You need to make sure that when people connect with you, like here we are on LinkedIn, and I've already said that it's going to be broadcast and shared on YouTube later, but you can also find evidence of what we're working on if you go to our WhatsApp group. The details are in the comment section as well, and in the details of the event section, or Facebook, or many other places. An omnichannel means that you are available to be found elsewhere, and that means that, like fishing nets, people can find their way back to the mothership, make their way back to you, because you've got evidence of who you are and what you do with your signature message around the place so people can find you. And it does take a lot of work, and it does mean that you've got to constantly be putting out significant and new content that tells people who you are and what you do so you stay relevant. Number 4 is this: know your audience. Who is it you're sharing with? If you don't think you know who your audience is, the odds are they don't know who you are. Work out who they are. There might be more than one different avatar for who your target market is. Whoever it is, if you do put out content that makes them interested, they will follow you, they'll connect with you, and they'll come back again and again and tell their friends until you build a following of people that really are interested in what you do, not just hoping it goes out there and reaches. So with that, typically when I say to people, who's your audience? They say anybody who's interested in, and as soon as they say anybody, I know they mean nobody because they haven't targeted it enough. Number 5 is this call to action. When you talk to people, you need to be able to say what they can do next. So let me give you an example of what that is. When it comes to when we do this particular broadcast, then in the comments section, we have a number of different options for you. If you want to work with me directly, if you want to join our community, if you want to buy one of our programs, there's lots of different things, or even just join us next time. Or even if you don't want any of those things, leaving a comment to let people know that you've joined us and you enjoy the experience will help other people more than you know to be able to be part of us. A call to action is very significant. It helps you to realize the difference you're making to people and also help other people to realize what it is that you're doing that you can help them with. Number 6, monetization strategy. You're not doing it for free. If you are doing it for free, then all the very best of luck. But here's the thing, who's going to pay your bills? Is your landlord going to turn around and say, you're a really good person, live here for nothing? Well, not unless you're married to them. Otherwise, you have to make sure that there's somehow, some way that this goes into your bank account. It doesn't mean you've got to be selling all the time, but if you've got a business structure around it of some description that ends up with something being bought and some exchange, then the odds are people will understand the relationship better than just taking. Then when you finally turn around and say, can somebody please pay for this? They go, oh, you've changed. You never used to be like that. And that's no good to anybody. And lastly, number 7 on this is thought leadership. The more you can position yourself as an expert in what you do, and on stage is probably the most effective way to do it for everybody who's in this particular podcast. If everybody comes on and says hi, and they share who they are and what they do, you've taken the first steps to position yourself as a thought leader. So everybody who sees what you are talking about and what it is that you're offering, whether it's a comment or asking a question, knows that you're visible, but also that you're asking questions. You're not just turning up for a job and going home and then watching Netflix. No disrespect to Netflix. So there's 7 things I'd like to share with you that you should think about when you're speaking on stage, about the impact that you have. And speaking on stage is as effective as posting online or basically jumping onto a podcast or turning up at a meetup group. In some way, shape or form, you should consider all those different things. Jeff, your comments on this?
Dave, one of the things that's screaming out to me is for people who may be listening to this who are not comfortable with speaking yet, and with your 7
secret strategies.
Secret strategies. When you're nervous, when the human element kicks in just before you're about to go onto that stage, there are so many things just to calm your nerves, but to remind everyone that it's actually good to be nervous. It's good to be kind of like wondering how it's going to go. But if you've got these 7 secret strategies under your belt and they're with you, you're gonna do really, really well. I'm speaking from many, many years of speaking on stage experience, so I hope that makes some sense.
It does. From a radio point of view, it makes a lot of sense because you and I worked in radio for many years. And so what they do, if you think about the radio business and the industry, they get confident people who can sit on the radio, wherever it is, and broadcast about playing music and all the stuff that's going on. And the very fact that you've got that level of confidence means that the listener then has belief that what they're selling during the adverts has quality because the rest of the station has quality. And so it's all part of a similar game.
Yep. I remember doing my very first speaking gig. I was 14 years old. It wasn't a gig, as we would say. That's slang for job. I was at school, and it was for my English exam. But it was part of my English communications. I didn't realise at the time that it was quite an important element. But with some of the strategies that Dave's mentioned, actually, I passed that speaking moment with distinction, and I kind of find myself going back to that moment whenever it is that I'm going to be speaking anywhere. Now, having worked in the radio, that was a big part of my kind of like professional career, but long before that, I was drawn to speaking in public, and I realised quite early on that there are many people that really struggle with speaking on stage. And fast forward to today, where it's taking me next is to the Ministry of Justice, where I've been asked to provide support for some of their key spokespeople. So that's pretty exciting stuff.
Amazing. Congratulations with that, Jeff. And I can't think of many people that are better positioned than you to be able to do that. You've been a coach and an influencer for many years. And some of the people, and certainly we keep coming back to conversations about Dubai, but some of the people who are the best known speakers in Dubai over the last 20, 30 years owe it to you for their career, myself included. You're the person that turned around to me when I was DJing in a bar. I was an ex-BBC guy DJing in a bar to slum it just to keep it all ticking over. When I arrived in Dubai, you said, come and join this radio station. To which I went, you're all right. And that was it. That's how my radio career started in Dubai. So I owe you that as well. So the idea that you're working with was Ministry of Justice. Is that in the UK?
Yeah. Ministry of Justice UK, yes.
Is that actually a thing?
In
It
London.
sounds to be like something that's suddenly been put together to just lean on everybody and put them in prison. Is it called the Ministry of Justice, or did you make
It's
it up?
called it's called the Ministry of Justice.
Fantastic. That's great.
It's a big deal, and it's a huge outfit. They've got thousands and thousands of people working for them, and yeah, it's. I wouldn't have even known it existed 3 months ago, just like you. I didn't even know it was a thing. And before I knew it, I was sat before them having a chat. Incredible.
Well, here's the thing, right? When you're in a situation like that, and the 7 strategies I'm talking about are really important, that people need to see trust and credibility and connect with you. And hello to Professor Christian Farioli, by the way, and Joanne, Darshana, and Jules, as I mentioned, and Coach MJ as well, and Alison and Hope and Tushar, who are in the audience right now. But when you get a call to go and see the Ministry of Justice, and you first of all you Google it to make sure it's not just some like scam, but you go, it actually is. Does Judge Dredd work there? I shouldn't say this, but I don't live in the UK, so I don't care at this moment in time. When you go along to those meetings, they've already worked out who you are. They've already done their homework. They've probably bugged your house. When you arrive, you have to be able to certainly make a big impression, but also let them know that what you bring to the table is unique, special, and you can help them. Now, I'm not going to ask too much about the actual meetings that you had with them, but what was your strategy about proving to them that you are the best person for that particular role, so they don't go to any of the 10,000 other ex-radio DJs, of many of which we know, who could talk about speaking? What did you bring to the table that made you different?
What I think passion, I think experience, but also a sense of humour, believe it or not. And I cracked a joke. I was really quite relaxed for this particular interview, and I don't know why. But I cracked a joke, and they said, you know what? In this role and in this environment, you really need a sense of humour.
Amazing.
And it scored a lot of points with them. But I've also had quite a journey in the last few years, as some people know, which on a personal level has been really challenging. But there are so many things that I've taken away from it that I can relate to what I do professionally. And I think encouraging people and it is something that I've always enjoyed doing. It's something that really comes from the heart, and I think that also came out in the interview. It could well also be that perhaps there was only 2 other people that applied. I don't know.
No, I'm sure.
I'm joking apart.
I'm sure they're watching on webcam, lots of people as we speak. As always with our broadcast, when we do it on a Friday or a Saturday or a Sunday, once a week it is, so obviously it's a Sunday today. If you've got a thought, if you've got a comment, if you'd like to contribute to the conversations that we're having here, please feel free to do so. Or if you have a challenge that you want to put into the group, and brainstorm. We've got some much more intelligent people in this group than me, and they can always contribute and help you with their knowledge and their thoughts about your subject, especially if it's something that I can't particularly cover. So feel free to do that. The only rules that we have are very specific. If we can't hear what you're saying, or it sounds like you're going on too long, or you don't go to actual questions or make a comment, or you stay far too long with the conversation, then we will have to ask you to not speak. But you're very welcome to join us as part of the group and see where you go from there. I'm going to now allow...
Dave,
Go on, Jeff.
could I just say one thing that I think is really important? You asked me from those 7 secret strategies. Your number 4
Yeah.
is know your audience.
Yep.
And I can't emphasize enough how important that is. So we're going for an interview or going onto a stage. You've got to do your research. You've got to get to know who you're going to be talking to. So, of course, I was being a little bit blasé, but I had actually spent days preparing for that interview and reading up about who I'm going to be meeting, what they do, who on earth is the Ministry of Justice. I didn't even know it existed. Really get to know who you are going to be talking to. It's so important. It can really help you in your speaking experience.
That's so true. One of the things I talk about, and I interviewed a gentleman called Raymond Aaron, who's a really, really famous speaker. Hope, could you just mute for a second, please, my friend? I'll get you on in a second. I interviewed him yesterday, and he's an incredible speaker, incredible thinker. And one of the things that he was talking about and we talked about was getting the Wi-Fi code of your audience before you speak. If you can't connect with them and you can't make a big impression when you arrive, then you are just background and wallpaper. And that's why it's so important to get it right. So I agree completely. Hope, we're going to give you a chance to speak
100%.
now, to see if your internet is working, or you're not in the middle of a supermarket or a disco or whatever with a noise in the background. So if we do mute you, then you'll know why. Go ahead. How are you, Hope?
Nope.
Hello.
Nope. I promise I'm not. Yeah. Hello, everyone. Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear. So what I'm saying, in essence, is more like a survival kit for techniques and how to break down, codes, and how to break down, basic things that will, infuse entertainment and also create diversity and, be able to enrich, the growth of the whole space of speaking on stage, creating speeches and all that. So I've tried my best to create an event where I'm going to bring people together. Security, yeah. Okay, so I just believe I'll be able to put these things out and create a Zoom link, so everyone is invited basically. And second of all, I got admission to the University of Arizona, so I'm happy and I want to say thank you to everyone. And basically, I've been able to grow from all this. Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you. I'm deliberately not saying anything because we've actually got a chance to hear you properly, so I'm leaving it to get on with it.
Okay. So I don't know. Can I repeat myself something? What's saying in essence is survival kit, like creating in essence of entrepreneurs, basically.
It's cutting out badly, Hope. I'm going to have to stop you there. Let me just check to see that you were asking, you're saying you're putting together, first of all, the second thing you said was a complimentary thing about being in the group, which I always appreciate. I always appreciate having you there as well. But you also said that you're putting together an event that people are very welcome to join. If that's the case, then please feel free to put it into the comments section. And for anybody who's interested, they can go along and have a look. I guess it's got a website or it's got a link for people to see what it is that you're putting together. So please feel free to share that in the comments section. But one thing I will say as a friend, and also the fact that I do this for a living, is you need to make sure whatever does happen with your event, then you've got adequate internet so people can pick up and interact with you. Otherwise, the challenge that we've got being able to connect to you now might be a challenge you have connecting with other people further on down the line. So I'm not sure how you're going to get that fixed, but I wish you all the very best of luck with that. Right, Hope, I'm going to stop you there
Yeah,
because I can't really hear what you're saying, but I hope that covers. Feel free, by the way, my friend, to put it into the comments section so we can hear what it is you say, and I'll read it out and answer your questions for you. Now, in the group, we've got some people who I know like to come up and chat every now and again. Coach MJ, Tolan, would you like to come and tell us about this big event that you've got coming up in the next week or so? I know it's past your bedtime, and I can't even think about what time. It's probably going to be about 4 in the morning or 5 in the morning or some ridiculous time for you to speak to us from America. But you know what? It's always a pleasure having you here, and I know whatever you're going to say is going to be worth it. So how are you, Coach MJ? Need to
I'm
unmute.
unmuted now. Good morning, everyone. Yes, it is early morning. I just got up to feed the chickens, and I'm very happy to be here on your show, Dave.
Are you seriously feeding chickens?
No, not really, but honestly, it is early.
Okay, good. Carry on then.
Yeah. So, about our event, we have an event on the 20th of March at 10 a.m. EDT. That's Eastern Time here in the United States. And it's a show with thought leaders who bring something to the table for entrepreneurs, CEOs. In fact, the show's called Firepower C-Suite, and it is the hottest show on LinkedIn for business. And we've got great speakers like a CEO a chairman who just raised $230 million for a startup. We have a futurist on AI coming in also as a keynoter, and our incredible panelists who are so talented. There's Professor Christian Farioli, there's davecrane, yourself, coming in, and we have Kevin Wash and also Captain Joseph Pullinen. So all of these people are going to be on the show. It's 1 hour, it's 2 segments, and you're all invited. The link is on LinkedIn under the events on the March 20th, and I can advise you that if you can make it, it's going to be a lot of fun, very informative, and very, very exciting.
I can't wait for it. I'm really looking forward to sharing my concepts and also being able to listen to and connect with some of the other great speakers. Now, when you're putting together an event like this, I want to throw this at you because there's a reason why you have such an illustrious list of people taking part as speakers. They have to prove themselves as thought leaders in some way, shape, or form for you to want to get them to speak on stages. Now, as an event organizer, even whether it's a virtual event or an in-person event, what's the criteria that you look at so people who are in the audience right now can understand why they are not being invited enough and what they need to do to be invited more?
Well, I think it's footprint. I mean, certainly people who've made an impact in their industry, you can see their presence online, Dave. They're published, so you can find the breadcrumbs back to their book or books, and they have a particular niche that they talk about, so they're not just all over the place. There's a definition of what it is that they specialize in, and people want to know from a specialist. So those are the main criteria that I do. And of course, I've got a pretty vast network, so I'm fortunate enough to have been long in the tooth enough to know that there's some great people out there, and you just need to attract those people to you.
Now, there's lots and lots of speakers out there, lots and lots of experts, and lots of people you could have chosen. For you to go and choose those people, there's a very specific reason why that happened. Is that because A, you know that they always deliver, B, they just keep showing up on your radar, or C, that you have a target audience who've proven that they're interested in what it is that you're doing, what they do, and so you know that you'll get a bigger audience coming out to play if those people's names are on the list?
Yeah, those are good points. I think I'm going to go with the first two. Because this is a brand new show, Dave. We don't really have a proven audience here, but what we do have is thought leaders who have made an impact. We have people who have a track record. We have people who have become reliable in their space. And so it's really that more than using them to bait to bring an audience, which is, it will work the opposite, because once you create a quality show, then you will create a following.
That's how it should work, but we're never sure sometimes if that's going to be the end result. But I'm glad to say that we've been running this particular session, that we're great to have you here in it. But we've been doing this for about 6-7 months, and we always get maybe 20 people turning up, sometimes 30. But the people that do turn up are quality, and the contribution that they make is always well worth me turning up to do it. And so for me, it's not just about the massive numbers. It's about the fact that what are you doing it for? You're doing it because you want to connect to the right people. And even if we haven't got like hundreds on this particular broadcast, what we have got is people who stay and they pay attention and they contribute and they get something from it. And that means that I've done my job well, and everybody who comes to join us and speak on stage is that's what matters. Now, I think that one thing is with AI making such a massive difference to the way that marketing is done and people produce content and so on, it's really, really significant to make sure that when you do know who your audience is, whether it's a huge audience or a relatively small audience, you've got a direct line to connect with them. So who would you say your audience is that you want to connect to with your show?
Well, that's a great point. I think we're first of all, it's LinkedIn based. So anyone who's interested, I'm a business entrepreneurial evangelist. So anyone who's interested in business excellence, there's a good start. AI, of course, it's not just a specialized niche, although it is. It's for everyone. I mean, it's happening all around us. It's like the internet was back in the day. It's like the horseless carriage was back in the day. So it's an exploding opportunity for people to learn more and to see what it's doing. So I think it's a phenomenal subject, and anyone on LinkedIn would benefit from hearing about all these breakthroughs and all these next level technologies.
I agree with you completely. And the thing I love so much about AI as a subject is as new things come onto the market, and we're talking about things like Sora, where you can just put in a sentence and it'll create a minute's worth of actual proper video for you just from words prompting it. The whole thing's growing. So even when people become masters of it, the masters of what was happening that day, the next day there might be a brand new thing that comes along. Now we can talk about AI forever. We can talk about your event forever. I will be there supporting and pushing. And also, if you put your details in the comment section, Coach MJ, people can register to come and join us as well, which would be amazing. What I'm going to do now is open it up to the floor. If you've got a comment or a thought or something you'd like to share with our audience, or even ask a question for many of our illustrious people on stage, then feel free to do. The rules are as always. If you want to put it into a comment section, then we'll read it out. Or if you want to come on stage and tell us who you are and what you do, please do not make it like in the UK, we call it a party political broadcast. You spend 5 minutes telling everybody everything about yourself, and then we say, is there a question? No, I just wanted you to look at me and clap. So if you've got something you want to share or a question you want to ask about the title or the subject that we're looking at, which is really about the support system that you have around you when you are speaking and putting yourself out there as a business or as an individual, then feel free to do that. This also matters if you're looking at being an individual in an organization. If you're just a wheel in a cog where you're thinking, well, I don't make all the decisions. Well, believe it or not, the more impact you can create, even in that position, will get you elevated to be more noticed and also at the very least unsackable. You're saying, well, what does that mean? Well, think about it. If you become the most valuable player in your organization from whatever position you do, they know they can't replace you with anybody else. And so as long as you're happy being there, you'll be there. Now, I want to add to this, we've got Joanne. Joanne is in the group, and we want to congratulate her on her 7-day sleep challenge. Now, I have to say this right. If I say 7-day sleeping challenge, that makes it sound like all sorts of dodgy connotations. So instead, what I'm going to do is ask Joanne to join us on stage and tell everybody all about it so they've got a better idea, so that before I get sued for saying the wrong thing. And hi to Baddy as well, who's one of our industry icons. Look forward to working with you this week and your incredible team. So Joanne, I'm going to invite you to come up and start speaking. As always, make sure you unmute and then tell us about your challenge. How are you?
Oh, good morning, Dave. Wasn't expecting that. Thank you very much. I'm great. I'm actually a little bit tired after yesterday. I did a big global summit and I've been talking for ages, so I was going to be quite happy sitting in the audience there. But I'll tell you about my challenge. Yeah, it was World Sleep Day. Not yesterday, Friday. What day is today? Yeah, Friday. So happy World Sleep Day to everybody. So it's Sleep Awareness Week all this week. And it's really just highlighting the importance of sleep. And there's a theme every year from the World Sleep Society. And this year it's about, an awareness of not everybody around the globe has the ability to sleep well. There's circumstances or conditions that's stopping people from being able to sleep well. So do appreciate your bed if you do have one. So yeah, I'll tell you about my challenge. So it's a free challenge. It's still on until tomorrow. I will drop the link in the group on the LinkedIn page, Dave. So you can just sign up. You get a video every day by email, and you're brought to my website, and a video is just released every day, giving you a challenge for you to take up if you want to take it, and it will help you to sleep better. Just loads of different ways, loads of different things. But that's it in a nutshell, Dave. I'm kind of exhausted from talking.
No worries, I'll jump in and save you. I didn't interrupt because I love listening to you speaking, and I will jump into that. I thought you were going to say it was a daily video of me sleeping. I thought, well, you know what, I could count sheep. No offense. But here's the thing. I was reading an article this morning about saying that many people in their 30s, a survey was done, an 11-year survey, that looked at people in their 30s and 40s and the damage they do to themselves by not being able to sleep properly. Now, and Aziza will say this to me, and she says it on a regular basis. My memory is shot. Sometimes my cognitive abilities go on holiday as I'm looking at something and I'll lose interest in it. And a large part of that is I very, very barely slept during my 30s and 40s. And I'll tell you why, because I was a DJ. So I was working long hours.
I can vouch for that.
And exactly, so Jeff and I know, and especially when you've got a young family, you do all the DJing stuff, you work till late, and then you get up early to make sure that you still play daddy daycare, whether it's getting with a family to get ready, taking the little one to school or whatever it is. And so sleep was one of the things that felt to me like I was missing out on something because I'd go to sleep early. Now I think I'm reaping the challenges of not getting a lot of sleep. And so I'm trying to backtrack and catch up with as much as possible, but it is a difficulty. And I do feel that sometimes the conversations I have, my memory, my short-term memory is terrible. And Aziz will vouch for that because she's always telling me off. Didn't you see that? Yeah, I did. Well, why didn't you do it? Well, I forgot. And I think sleeping makes a big difference. So I would say from my own point of view, I'm definitely going to check it out. And everybody should do so as well, Joanne.
Brilliant. Well, yeah. And listen, Dave, it's not too late. It's not too late. We'll have a chat.
I'm catching up as we speak. There you go. I'm sure it's not too late, and we're a long time dead, and anything up till then is still doable. So I appreciate that. As always, it's open to people in the audience who want to come and share their thoughts and so on. The only reason that we never get Professor Christian Farioli jumping on stage is because he's eating. He's either eating or he's far too comfortable to be bothered to be able to do anything, but he always gives us his support. Now, he's an amazing speaker, so when he does come on, he's got something incredible to share, and he's also going to be one of the speakers at Coach MJ's event, which you should register for. So I'm sure that when Professor Christian Farioli is ready to jump on and talk about digital marketing or other thoughts and stuff like that, then he will do, and it'll be a pleasure to have him there. Baddy is one of my new industry icon clients. He's based in Switzerland. He runs a team of life coaches, which I find fascinating because as he goes out, and he's got about 13, 14 life coaches who are helping the business community right across Switzerland. I'd love to know what the biggest challenges are for businesses and for individuals who are entrepreneurs that you have to deal with, Baddy. Now, I don't know if you can jump on and say hi, and you got the floor is yours if you can do. Then you just need to press a button to be able to join us, ask to speak on stage, and then I'll activate it, and then you can share that stuff with us. If not, we'll catch up at a later part this week to be able to continue with that conversation. Similarly, Jules Dalton, you and I talked about things that you were starting with a business you were working on ages ago. I'd love to know how that was going too, because you're part of our lovely community here, which is growing. It's like a Sunday family with different mums and dads, which is always pleasant to have there as well. Jeff, do you must echo with my challenge about getting some sleep?
Dave, you can't. I was literally biting my fingers, like like when someone's in pain, like. Because I desperately wanted to say something and I was gagging myself. I can so relate to that, and I'm actually witness to it personally with you myself, Dave, because we were there together.
Yep.
And I remember, we would work till the early hours of the morning, but then because of the adrenaline of the jobs that we had at the time, and how our role was always to make other people happy and to keep them motivated. So when you come to the end of that shift, if you like, and you've got to go home to bed, your brain is still absolutely buzzing with ideas and creative thought and the adrenaline within your body. And so it takes several hours for you to actually get to sleep. It's a huge challenge. But then also with the particular role that we had, we would have to be so versatile with our professional day and flexible. We would do one event at one time of the day, and then we would find ourselves late at night hosting award ceremonies or whatever it might be, or doing a speaking event. And so there was never such a thing as 9 to 5. I just posted this morning somewhere that 2 weeks ago I locked my family out of the house because I forgot the keys. I've also left the pan on the stove, and burnt whatever was going to be for dinner. So I know exactly how you feel.
Wow. Jeff, please, please, please look after yourself and your family better than that. What's going on? Not just from a selfish reasons I want to have you on the show, but...
Yeah, I can also, from what Joanne was saying, and also being a dad as well, we got to learn. We read about it. We went out of our way as parents to learn about the importance of sleep. And we would often say to our son, CJ, look, you got to sleep. When he was really tiny, he didn't like to sleep. He wasn't a napping kind of baby, afternoon nap or this or that. But we would really encourage him. With my daughter, I actually raised my daughter on my own for a while, whilst managing a radio station or two, and then having to go out and earn a bit more money for my daughter in doing events at the evening. So I could find myself waking up at 5 a.m. to go and host a breakfast show on a radio station, manage the team throughout the day, and then go and do an event in the evening till late night and have to be up at 4 or 5 the next morning. So, yeah, in our 30s and 40s, we paid the price.
We burnt a candle and every other candle at that end. And there's one thing that you haven't really mentioned as well, Jeff, but it's a very significant part of that. So we're doing our daytime job and we're blessed enough to have nighttime activities, which usually earned a little bit extra for us or the family. But the thing was, one of the reasons that you'd stay extra after that is because you needed to then recharge your batteries and not be in public anymore. So you could only do that with a load of people around you who weren't asking the same questions and didn't want anything from you. You needed to be able to just let your hair down and just, say things that were chilled out, because it's a very important part of you recharging who you are so you could go back out there and do stuff properly. And that's why people have burnout, because they don't allow themselves to recharge their batteries properly. And I'm sure that's one of... So, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to give away a secret now. It's not I suppose it is a strategy. It could be number 8 strategy, but exactly what you've just said, Dave. You and I actually spent some of that time together, a lot of that time, in fact. And one of our getaways from it all was a TV show in America, which went on to run for 10 years, and each cast member earned $1 million per episode. And that show was Friends.
True.
Do you remember that?
I do remember very well. I also remember Jerry Springer. We enjoyed that one too. And
so many others. But that was our getaway from where we had been in our professional spotlight, if you like. And it was a chance for us just unwind and forget about whatever else is going on in the day.
It's very true. We could have been...
I just thought I'd throw that one in.
We could have been characters on that show, apart from we didn't have a black person. But if it did, then I could have been one as well. I'm going to change the subject slightly now to Baddy, who's joined us on stage. Baddy and Gong, who's based in Switzerland. And as I mentioned, we're going to be working together this week on thought leadership and so on. But I wanted to throw the question to you, Baddy. What do you think the biggest challenges are for people in business that they need a coach for, or a mentor, or somebody who can help them from getting from A to Z? What would you say? You need to unmute Buddy to be able to speak on this one.
Good morning, Dave. Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Dave, for this opportunity. I will just talk from my own experience. The biggest challenge for me now is to get my staff, get my team, to self-manage. And that is something that I think here in Switzerland is quite new, that people are, to be brought to that point to self-manage, because people are so used to working in organizations with structures that are already given to them, but they always long to want to, take responsibility. But I'm just finding out now as an entrepreneur and a leader to my staff that it is easier said than done. That's one challenge.
Well, can I ask you a question on that as we move this subject slightly? How many people want to be able to self-manage, and how many people want to be told what to do? Because remember, when you go through the schooling system, everyone gets told, sit down, shut up, do your homework, and the end result is you'll get a job that looks after you and your family, your 2.4 kids, and your house and your so people are expecting to be told what to do, but at the same time they're smarter and more connected. Do you think that's a big challenge for people to make that decision, to actually feel entrepreneurial whilst in the job?
Yeah, I think it's a very big challenge to make that shift, from, being told what to do and actually self-manage. The longing to want to do it is so big, but I'm experiencing now that it's easier said than done with my staff. So the whole week, the past month, I was in London last week attending this EO summit, learning days, and it was all about people who are the team A players you want to have with you. And it gave me an opportunity to really reflect on who I have in my staff, So since I came back, I've been asking this question. Dave, you told me once, like, I should always ask the question, what's in there for them? So I keep, trying to take them with me on this journey. But it's really challenging because, like I said, that shift is really, really difficult to make, because people have been taught to, people have been taught or conditioned to be led, so it's a whole ball game to want to learn how to manage, to self-manage. Yeah.
It's a fascinating conundrum to have to be challenged with, and I'm looking forward to conversations we're going to be having about that. And so, that's the challenge that's facing your team. But from a business community, and having spent some time briefly with yourself in Davos, but also I can see how efficiently Switzerland is run as a country. I don't think I've met many places that everything goes by clockwork and it's got to be run a certain way to get the results that they're clearly getting. What are the biggest challenges that people face in the workplace then, aside from what you're talking about with empowerment? What else is it that people face?
I started by telling you about this self-management thing. The biggest problem people face now in Switzerland is stress management, I would say. The families I work with, for example, it's not just people with psychological issues, autism and ADHD, as we have specialized in, but we see that the parents from different backgrounds, medical doctors, people working in management, finance, they have one thing in common, which is stress. I can't say where this comes from, but we think that the level of stress now in my country, where I am, has taken another turn. We don't know. We don't know if it has to do with, with COVID or stuff like that, but it's really difficult to say.
I think stress more than anything, I'm welcoming anybody in the audience to be able to add their contribution to this particular subject. But stress before was seen as something that's like a welcome badge. Yeah, I'm stressed because I'm working long hours, and look at me, I'm giving it the best shot I can, and that's why I'm getting the results. Stress, 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 stress. I think what the pandemic did was it stuck a pin in that, like a balloon, and said, do you really want that much stress? What happens if you're just running around like a hamster wheel, and all you're doing is winding yourself up? There's only so much money you can earn. There's only so many meals you can have a day. There's only so much love you can give to your family. What if you get a better balance of all those things? And for me personally, I've found great value in just life experience as a metric. I'll give you an example this morning, buddy, and I'm again throwing it open to anybody who wants to come on stage and share some stuff. So I mentioned at the beginning of today's session that I go for a walk every day for about an hour just to start the engine going and a little bit of exercise and so on. It's brisk walking. It's not just like homeless walking. And today, as I was walking, some smoke was coming out of a house a few streets down. So I walked past it. And then my conscience kicked and said, go back because you never know. Maybe somebody hasn't called anybody about it. So I went back to have a look at it, rang 999. This is in Dubai. And I got into a fire service, a police service, and I said, look, you should really come down. And then there was a big bang. And then most of the smoke stopped billowing. And I thought, well, that's clearly somebody's gas cooker or something that's gone off. And within a very short amount of time, maybe about 2 minutes, the sirens arrived as we had 3 huge police fire engines that turned up and an ambulance and everyone. And luckily, it was just a small fire. It wasn't too bad, but at the time, it's quite significant. Now, I'm not saying, hey, look at me, I'm a great citizen, but I do also know that if you don't do stuff, then there's no guarantee anybody else will do that. But what it did give me was the fact that I thought, that's an experience for today, just to put away in my head. I don't know if I'm going to share it with the group, as it so happens I have, but I think we work so hard and we get so stressed, we miss life going past us at the same time. And we're here to enjoy life. It's not just about the money. It's not just about the amazing meals you can have. You can have a sandwich and still enjoy life. Do you think people are missing that somehow, Paddy?
Yeah, I think people are missing that a lot. And I want to also, shout out and thank Joanne for bringing in the topic of sleep. I think sleep, it's a very important thing. From my own experience, in my 40s, I'll be 50 in November this year. In my 40s, late mid 30s, 40s, I worked so hard studying, working for institutions that my sleep was not really a priority. When I slept 5-6 hours a day, that was a lot. So now I've tried to prioritize my sleep, like trying to really, do some life coaching, some apps to see. And the experience I've made so far is when I sleep 7 hours a day, because I can connect this with the topic I just said before, stress, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel different. I'm more productive. My memory is better when I compare to 10 years ago. So I think it's just like little things, like you going for a walk in the morning, have a routine somehow to your life that works. I mean, I've tried lately to get about 5 o'clock in the morning every day, which is like one of the strategies to make me have a good sleep in the night. And it's amazed how much time I could do between that time, because I think I am important enough as a person to give myself 1 to 2 hours a day, which is my time. And that time is my first 2 hours in the morning. Get up, go for a walk, do some sports, whatever. And I've just realized that my life's quality has changed as a person and as a young entrepreneur. So this is what I could contribute to that.
No, it's very true, and I agree with you completely when it comes to the balance of what happened when you were younger to where you are later on. I think that's really important to be able to work out what matters to you most and where do you want to go with the whole thing, because there's so many distractions, there's so many things that happen around us and so many people wanting our time and our energy that if you don't actually realize you have a certain amount of time to do stuff, then you miss out. I mean, I've always said I'll sleep when I'm dead. And I really do mean that. But at the same time, as Joanne would say, yeah, but you gotta, when you do sleep, you need to make sure you have better quality so you don't die too soon, and also so you have a better quality of life as you go along. Because if you feel like you're sleepwalking all the time, then you won't be able to get the most out of it. I mean, I managed from the pandemic to allow myself, because most of the work I do, like what I'm doing right now, I work from home, from my home office, and so if I need to just grab a bit of sleep, I can just sleep. My bedroom is a stone's throw, not that I'd throw a stone at it, away. But at the same time, I think it's about getting that proper balance to everything to be able to get the most out of it. Joanne, with that whole point about sleeping, do you have any stats on whether on how much productivity is damaged by lack of good sleep?
Oh my God. Oh, Jenny, I could be here all day. Yeah, look, there's lots and lots of science there. And really only the last 15, 20 years, we've really started to delve deep into the whole area of science. So there's lots and lots of new stuff coming up. I'll give you one really good thing, the brain, right? So there's a lot of people talking about, your brain cognitive function and you can't think and you're forgetting things and all this stuff, sort of thing. We need our brain. Our brain is a vital organ when it comes to performance and operating, for planning, for making decisions, for safety reasons as well, taking risks, all that kind of stuff. At night time, when we're in a deep phase of sleep, it cleans out the brain. It literally cleans and clears out the brain. And it's the only time that the brain tissues can shrink enough for the fluid to go around and literally bathe it and wash it out and clean out all those toxins and beta amyloids and all that kind of stuff. It's also been associated with Alzheimer's as well, which a lot of people fear in older age. So that's one very important thing that happens at nighttime in terms of our brain, and that helps us with performance. I mean, I could go on forever, but it's just so significant. I mean, we're on a totally different mode when we're sleeping at nighttime. It's all the clean and heal and repair and recovery. That's absolutely vital. And nature must have intended sleep to be so significant. If we're sleeping for that length of time in a 24-hour period, it's got to be significant for us to thrive in life.
I hear you. I hate sleeping. Everyone goes, I love it. I hate it. I hate the idea of switching off and missing out on something. Persuade me otherwise. What is it that's going to change, apart from, a horrible death walking into traffic because I wasn't out walking? What would you say is the way that I should really see sleep to be more effective?
Okay, so I would start by saying it's your, like you said there earlier on, you say to yourself, I'll sleep when I'm dead or whatever. So it's our attitude. And day one of the sleep challenge is all about attitude. So Dave, you got to go look at my video, right? But your attitude and how you relate to sleep. When we talk about relationships, we think of people, but it's how we relate to people, things, events, circumstances, and even sleep. And that's a very big topic that I talk about, is how we relate to sleep, our attitude towards sleep. If you value sleep, you're going to prioritize it, Dave. And when you prioritize something, you're going to put that at top of the list. John D. Martini talks about prioritizing your values as well. And when you value something, you're going to put it to the top of the list and prioritize it. And you're not valuing sleep. You don't enjoy sleep, so it's not a priority for you. So it's all about changing your attitude and understanding and realizing what sleep can provide for you, David, and not be ignorant about it. So really go and understand and find out all the benefits. Science has shown us there. It's just endless. Alzheimer's, the longevity, our telomeres lengthen. Probably getting a bit sciencey here, but the evidence is there, Dave, that it will support you in your life and your business. And we need you, Dave, to be at your best, and show up at your best. So if
Joanne,
I haven't convinced you by now,
Dave, can I jump in here?
Of course.
Because I've had a fair bit of first-hand experience of what can happen when our brain goes wrong. What Joanne's talking about with the research and when we sleep and what happens to our brain, I can't emphasize that enough. How the neurons, they get time to grow again. They get time to chill. I was also thinking about when you learnt about neuro-linguistic programming.
Mm-hmm.
Neuro comes from your brain. Our brain is our computer. Our brain is our machine. And if we don't treat our brain with respect, you could be dying quite a bit sooner than you really want to. I learned the hard way. I learnt it really the hard way. And for the last 8 years, I've been paying the price for not taking care of my brain. I know we talk we hear a lot about mental health, and I'm trying really hard to rebrand that term and refer to it as brain health. If we invested as much in our brain and learning about it as we do in speaking about stuff in general and what we want to do in life, I think we would all benefit massively. If you want your brain to be a Lamborghini, a Ferrari, or a Rolls Royce, it needs servicing on a regular basis. And that service comes when we sleep. Our brain grows when we sleep. It's fascinating.
It is fascinating.
And when
Come.
I've mentioned it before, that the top neurosurgeons in the world only know 3% of our brain. Now, this is all really relevant stuff, because when it comes to these 7 secret thoughts of leadership strategies to unleash your business and doing and being the very best that we can, I think when you peel it all back, it comes back to that machine, that PC in our head, and it's only when you pause. Joanne mentioned in one of the comments about our rhythm. As DJs, we lost our rhythm. Well, actually, yes, we did, Joanne. And I learned when I had to rest my brain for 2 years, I had to rest my brain. I learned that actually when we slow ourselves down and take a pause, we really then begin to embrace what is really important to us and these really important elements to enable us to succeed. And it really spills out into everything that we do when we step out into our world of business, whatever it may be.
No, that's fascinating. That's almost the right way to kind of bring the show to an end, because apart from the fact I just feel like I've been bollocked by everybody for not sleeping well enough, which I'll take on the chin, that's fine. It's the fact we are going to live a lot longer. And I mean, I could start going down into, I mean, I've been studying the stuff from Jim Quick, who is an incredible brain expert, who talked about all the stuff you've talked about. He was called, when he was a 5-year-old at school, he had an accident where he smacked his face off a radiator, and so he had a learning difficulty. And the teacher turned around to the rest of the kids in the class and said, yeah, he's not very good at stuff, leave him alone, it's a boy with a broken brain. So then he decided that he was going to go against that and learn how brains work. And he's become one of the thought leaders who teaches all the big companies how to get the most out of their leadership, because he really knows how it all comes together. And so the stuff that he's sharing is quite phenomenal. Look him up, Jim Quick, Jimkwik. He's a genius, and we may talk about his stuff a little bit more on next week's session. But meanwhile, it has been fascinating to get everybody on today. We only do an hour deliberately because during that hour, I want to make sure that, especially as a Sunday, we don't overstay our welcome. We make sure that what we do is spend time giving quality content and asking the questions of the week that really we need some answers to. Sometimes we do that. Sometimes we just catch up and have a good old chinwag and say bad things about things and good things about other people as well, which is wonderful. So, I'm going to let everybody just say a goodbye. Thanks to Coach MJ, by the way, for coming on stage and joining us and sharing about his event that's coming up. I hope you put it into the comments section. I haven't had a look at the comments section because when I'm broadcasting, everything comes through my account on LinkedIn. So if I press any buttons, it means that I could suddenly kill the entire broadcast or drop out of it. It's really surreal, like blipping out of time because Thanos has clicked his fingers. So I don't look at anything, but if you put the details there, then people can join us, for myself, you, Christian Farioli, and a whole team of experts sharing their thoughts and ideas on the live broadcast as well. So with that being said, I'd like to, first of all, thank Hope for being on stage. He shared some great insights, but we had a challenge with his internet as per usual, to be honest. But we wish him all the very best with his live event too. Aziza, do you want to give any thoughts on what you've experienced today?
I think the only way for you to make you sleep longer is if you don't want me to nag a lot about repeating the same things, then you need to sleep. See you next week.
Wow. The boss has spoken. And look at everyone just putting up smiley faces. You love it when that happens, don't you? She just got it back in front of everybody. It's like your mum pulling your ear and taking you out of class and going, aya, 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 don't you dare. Anyway.
Well, that's because you yourself admitted that you can't remember anything.
Yeah, I
Stay on
can't.
the
I got
show.
terrible memory.
So that's why if you're able to repeat it 2-3 times, you say I'm nagging. So you don't need to nag. Go sleep. Not nap in the day. Have proper sleep at night. 8 hours.
Rely on you because you're brilliant at it and you do an amazing job of keeping me on track.
And nag.
And you do nag, yeah. Maybe I should sleep a bit more. Joanne, do you want to say a few thoughts there? You must be laughing. You are going, right, everybody who's in this group is going to join my speaking course because Dave is our first client. Well, there you go. It just proves it works. Your thoughts on today's session?
Oh, so great, so great. Well, first of all, happy St. Patrick's Day. I'm going off to celebrate. Yeah, I'm going to have to celebrate today in the parade. Dave, we love you, and I hope you sleep well for the next week until we chat again next week. Cool. That's it. Over out.
Thank you. Well, if I celebrate St. Patrick's Day the way it's meant to be celebrated, I will sleep well tonight. That's 100% true.
Yeah.
That's the way it's going to work. Baddy, do you want to say some last thoughts? Thanks for joining us from Switzerland as well. We'll be catching up at some point soon this week. Any thoughts or comments that you wanted to make on today's session?
Thank you. I came in a little late, but I was very happy. Very insightful thoughts from everybody, and I'm taking a lot with me, especially the sleep thing. I'll stay on it. Looking forward to start working with you next week, Dave. Fantastic. And happy Sunday to everybody.
Yeah, brilliant. And last but not least, before I actually go to Jeff, I just want to make a comment for everybody who's in the group. Make sure you check out all the links that we leave inside the comments section and inside the details section. Whenever you go to a link that's left on LinkedIn, they also make it look like you're going to the world's worst website. But it's basically what they have in place to say, are you sure you want to leave? Are you sure you don't want to burn in hell first? And you go, oh, I might not press the link. Trust me, the links are completely safe. And if they're not, then let me know. For you to be able to get the most out of the work that we do here and connect with our WhatsApp group. And you're very welcome to join that too. What I would also say is we do this every Sunday, unless I'm traveling, in which case it happens on a Friday. But Sunday we found is the most comfortable time for us to get together. Right, Jeff Price, over to you for our final thoughts of the day.
Big thank you, Dave and Aziza, for today. Baddy, it was fantastic to hear from you in Switzerland. Thank you so much for your insights today, and to Coach MJ, wishing you the very, very best for your event on the 20th. I'm going to see if I can drop in on LinkedIn and hope we're going to send you Wi-Fi. We're going to send you Wi-Fi power. Wishing you all the best, guys. Have a fantastic week.
Excellent. Thank you as well, Jeff, for being on a regular on our group. We missed Debbie this week, but we got some great speakers to come on. And so when Debbie comes up next time, I'll say, you know what, we replaced you. I won't do that because Joanne's going to say now, she's going to contact her and say, you know what Dave said when you weren't there? Dave said all this stuff. You can pick on him, tell his wife, and she'll pick on him as well. So
it's time to go to sleep now, Dave.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joanne.
I'm not going to fight anybody on today. It's a Sunday. It's best time to just chill out, apart from the football and the rugby and the opportunity to catch on stuff. I would say one thing that's really important. We do this on a weekend, and we do it deliberately on a weekend because we want you to actually take a break. This can be work, but it doesn't feel like work to me, and hopefully it doesn't feel like work to you. And one of the things that people do or used to do is work all the way through every single day just to get that little advantage at work. I've done some extra work at home and all the rest of it. There's a reason to take a weekend, and your weekend is for you to recharge your batteries, your work batteries. So in the same way as I'm being told by Joanne and Jeff and my missus, get some sleep to make sure that you recharge your brain battery. I would say that for whatever you're planning to do throughout the weekend, make sure that you look after yourself as well. Yes, you can do a little bit of work if you want to, but do a little bit of you. Something that makes you happy, to recharge your own batteries, because we're a long time dead, and you'll get the most out of life from now until the end of it if you've got a better balance about what's going on. And I hope that this group is able to contribute towards that experience and get you closer to where you want to be. With that being said, it's a pleasure having you here. The broadcast will be available for you to watch or share with people. What I'd like to say for everybody who's in the group, whether you jumped on stage or you're just with us for the duration, thank you so much. Without you, there is no conversation. Without you, there's no point going live. But you do, even if you just watch us from a distance, that's really important. But what I would like you to do is just leave a comment in the comment section about your experience today. The very least by saying it was really good, you should join us so other people can see it, or even leaving a question or a comment that really resonated with you throughout today's session, because then we're able to make sure that we can come back and program it as something that you can get more from in future sessions. We'll be back same time next week on Sunday. And on behalf of all our incredible speakers, which included Coach MJ, Hope, Baddy, Joanne, my wife Aziza, and Jeff, and myself, we will be live on YouTube to see it all again soon. You can catch the link first in our WhatsApp group, but otherwise you'll catch it by returning to the actual details section or the comments section of this post on LinkedIn, and you can catch up everything we've done. Look after yourself. Remember to jump and grow wings on the way down. And even though we talk about being on stage, you don't have to be on a big stage to do it. Just conversations with people that you know and you care about, or conversations in your head, is the best stage to start on. So look after yourself, and on behalf of myself and everybody else, thank you and goodbye. And that brings us to a close today. Look after yourself, catch up with you soon, and I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback on this. It's on YouTube for now. We're not sharing it anywhere else, but I'd love to have you subscribe and come back on a regular basis. Let me know what you think. Look after yourself, and hope these insights get you one step closer to where you need to be to jump and grow wings on the way down as well. Thank you. Goodbye.